Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you a quick tutorial on how to use Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word to send reports to your students via email. This process is particularly useful perhaps during this quarantine period that I'm making the video during, but I think in general it's just a good idea. So I'm going to give a fairly generic example rather than a specific one so that it's applicable pretty much anytime you want to send a mass mailing where it's individualized to each particular student. As we see on the screen right here, what I've done here is created some data that might be similar to the sort of thing you might have for students. Obviously, you're probably going to have a lot more than 4 students, but just as an example, I created this simply by typing it in, and I formatted the data as a table. As we can see, we have our first name, last name, we have an email address, and then we have our parts of our scoring rubric. The key here for the email, of course, is we do need an email column. Many schools assign a template for how email addresses look. As we see here in our sample data, this is our template, and our students will have access to the email. Also over here, I've created a letter that's going to be our template letter. This is the letter that's going to go out to all of our students. I've left variable names in for where we're going to do that. We are not going to be using these specific variable names. We'll change these out as we do the mail merge. This is just simply a way so that we can type our letter up first, see what our letter is going to say, basically what it's going to look like. We don't need to worry a whole lot about formatting because remember, the idea is that we're going to be emailing this. So we're going to have to keep in mind that Outlook might do some other changes to this. So pretty much we don't want to go fancy with the formatting. Just keep it simple because this is an email targeted letter. Once we've set this up, once we've set our letter up, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to mailings. And usually I just go through the step-by-step wizard. Of course, if you're more comfortable with mail merge than this, you can use the various menu options, but just to keep it simple, as I usually do it, let's just go straight through the wizard. We have our letter, and we're going to go ahead and use that letter. And we want to make sure we select our starting document. We're going to use the current document. We're going to use an existing list. It's going to want to know where to get the list. We're going to want to use an existing list. What we want to do is browse for that list. We're going to look for that file that we created over in Excel. And sorry for all the clicking, but that list will be right here. There's our data. You'll see that it's got a page, it's got a name here. The name here will match the name of the spreadsheet down here, Project 1 Rubric, Project 1 Rubric. And it will do its best. As long as you've got that formatted as a table, it does an excellent job of selecting that data out there. Notice that because we formatted it as a table, that first row of the table becomes the variable names. That's exactly what we want to have happen. Now we're going to go through the process of replacing each one of these out. We're going to say, write our letter. And for each one of these blank spots, we're going to go ahead and select more items. Select the appropriate thing there. And yes, I know there's ways to do this other than this process. I'm just showing you one way to do it. Go ahead and click more items. We're going to go through this for each part. There's part 2. There's part 3. And then finally, our total percentage. Now I will warn you, if you have a calculated percentage, there's a little bit more intricate stuff. Microsoft Word does not like formatting the percentage itself. So if you took a cell in Excel that is a percentage, it's formatted in percentage as the underlying numeric field, and then you put it in here, you're going to get the big long number with all the decimals. What you would have to do is format that out in Excel and then use that column instead. But again, This video is meant to be sort of an introductory overview and not a video to show you all the little fine details and such. The next thing you want to do is review the letters, and you see there it's replaced everything with the proper name. It says hello Ahmed, gives all of his points out. Final percentage is 72%. So this gives us an overview of what the letter is going to look like. There's the student's name, each one of the points they received on each section, and the final percentage. We then want to complete the merge. We can do that. We have the option of editing individual letters, but what we want to do is we want to go ahead and send it out. So to send that out, we're going to click Finish and Merge, and we're going to send email messages. And notice that it will automatically pick the column that appears to be the email address, especially if you haven't named email or email address or anything along those lines. It will attempt to do that. If you want to put in a subject line for the email, go ahead and do that. This is Project 1 rubric. We'll go ahead and send that. And if we were going to go ahead and send this, now at this point it's not going to do this. We don't want to do this, but if we're going to go ahead and send this, we could print OK, and it would send that email out to all 4 of the students. I've been sending email out to about 75 students at a time, and it literally takes about 30 seconds. Make sure, of course, that your letter is exactly how you want it to do before you hit OK, because once you hit that OK button, it is going to send an email to every single email address you have in that particular column. Now, as far as who it's sending the email from, it's also important to this concept that you have Outlook set up on your computer and that your Outlook account is your work account, because that's the email it's going to send from. This is all integrated Microsoft together. So Word is going to pull the data from Excel, and then it's going to send the email to Outlook, and Outlook is going to send the email out. So if you don't want it sending from whatever your default account on Outlook is, this is not going to be the route for you. Make sure that your default account for Outlook is your work account, or whatever account you are comfortable having the students get this email from. Okay, and that would be the basic process. You would hit OK. You know what? I'll go ahead and do this anyway because it'll just bomb. And that would be it. It doesn't even give you a message. It just sends the email out. Okay, so that's the process of using Word, Excel, and Outlook together to send out an email for scoring purposes. In this video, I went over just the basics. Obviously, there's a lot of bells and whistles, a lot of details, especially for Excel. You can do a lot of things in Excel as far as making sure you're formatting columns and stuff correctly. So when you feed it into Word, it looks nice. But this is, like I say, the basics.